What up, YouTube? Changing the oil today on my VW. Gonna be changing the oil with Castrol Edge 5W40 full synthetic motor oil. Alright, so I went ahead and loosened up this bolt here. This is a 19mm bolt, and I actually already drained all the oil out, so you just see a drip here. This is my oil. It's pretty black, very black as a matter of fact. So that's pretty much step one after you jack up the car, of course. And I'm using jack stands just to be safe. I'm also wearing gloves because you don't want to get oil on your hands. You can avoid it. Next, I'm going to take off the oil filter. So I went ahead and put the drain plug bolt back on, and I'm going to go ahead and move my drain pan underneath my oil filter, and I'm using a really wide drain pan here because the oil is, when you take off the oil filter, it's going to spill around. I also have this piece of cloth here to try to prevent spilling oil on my concrete floor. I'm using this tool here. It's a very cheap, inexpensive tool for removing the oil filter. You can basically use it on any size oil filter, so I can use it on most of my cars. Basically what you're going to do is wrap it around the filter, and then you're going to use a 1/2-inch drive ratchet to turn it. Okay, so I just want to show you how this tool works. Again, I'm using a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. I put it into the stem here, and then I'm just going to turn that, and that's going to loosen up my oil filter. Once it's loose, you can take it out by hand. You just got to break this seal. I loosened it up with the wrench. Now I can take it off by hand. You're going to start to see the oil's going to start spilling out, so make sure you got your oil pan in place, and you're going to want to pull this out. It's tricky because this hose is in the way. I think this is an air conditioning or a heater hose or something. So you got to try to make sure you get it out carefully, holding it upright until you get it down to your oil pan. Then you can flip it over and let it drain into your oil pan. It's going to be messy, so I'm going to use 2 hands. Alright, so I got the filter off, and I actually just put a rag up in there to catch all the oil that is dripping out of the where the oil filter goes. You can see that black oil is just dripping, so I want to let that drain out a little bit as well. And this is something that the shops don't do when you take it to one of those Jiffy Lube type places. They're trying to do it quick as job as possible, so they're not going to let all the dirty oil drain out completely. They're just going to take the filter off, put the new one right back on. So I like to let as much of the oil drain out as possible from here and from the oil pan bolt right there. So as soon as I feel that's all drained out, I'll go ahead and put the new one on. Probably wait about at least 5 minutes, but preferably 10 minutes. And then I can put the new filter on. This is part number 51393 from O'Reilly's, and this is a Wix oil filter. You can use Bosch, which is what I recommend, or you can use the OEM Volkswagen. You have to buy those at the dealership though. Alright, I just took the drain plug back off after I was working on the filter, and this is how much oil is still leaking out. So just goes to show you that you really have to wait for the oil to completely drain out. When I first took the plug off, let it drain, the majority of it poured out until it became a drip, and then I put the plug back on and waited about 10 minutes, and this is what resulted. So I'm gonna put the new filter on while I'm waiting for that to finish draining. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of oil here on the edge of the new filter. So I got some new oil here. Just going to put a little dab all the way around the edge here before I put the filter on. Okay, went ahead and put the new filter on. I'm just tightening it hand tight, as tight as I can get it with my hand here, and that's good to go. You can see a little drop of oil that came out while I was putting on the new filter. You can see here the main drain plug is still dripping oil, so I'm just going to go ahead and wait a couple more minutes, and hopefully most of that oil will drain out. Go ahead and put the plug back on and add the new oil. All right, cool. So make sure you wipe down the inside of your funnel. Make sure your funnel is clean. Go ahead and add your oil in there. This is gonna be 1 1/4 gallons or 5 quarts. So I don't think this car takes 5 quarts, so you don't want to overfill it. I would use about 4 quarts and lower your car and let the oil settle, and then check the level again. Just make sure that before you put your oil in, make sure your drain plug is on. You don't want to make that silly mistake, and your oil filter is on tight. Okay, so that's about 4 quarts. It's kind of hard to see, but you look closely, it's about right there. So I'm going to go ahead and lower my car and check the oil level, and see if I need to add any more oil. Alright folks, so there you have it. Pretty much done here with the oil change. One tip for you all is that I recommend keeping track inside of your owner's manual. There's a little booklet that comes inside here, and I usually write down when I change my oil, what kind of oil I used, and what the mileage was. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down here since I ran out of space. Looks like the last time I changed my oil was in June. We're now December, so I don't recommend that. But my mileage, I don't drive that much, so this is synthetic oil as well, so you don't have to change the oil as often. Anyways, all right, YouTube, keep dubbing. Don't forget to change your oil often, and take care of your car, and it'll take care of you. Peace out.